As you probably know from my frequent covering on this channel, God Eater is one of my favorite game franchises. So it might surprise you to see that I haven't played two of the games in the franchise. Mobile games are a huge part of the gaming industry now, whether we like it or not. These games bring companies huge amounts of money. They're also incredibly accessible to people because all you really need is a smartphone. Typically, a mobile game will be free to start. You don't have to pay a single dime for it, all you need is the storage space and the right phone to run it. However, there are paid elements to games which make them profitable due to this free to start and pay to get more model. God Eater had two of these mobile games. Emphasis on had. The first one was called God Eater Online, and it was a MMO. This game sees the series' first, kind of more seamless multiplayer function. Instead of having this lobby system, there is also a multiplayer lobby where players can go to farm materials and random origami. Of course, it probably wasn't perfect, and the low player counts probably made it hard to find people to play with. However, I never really got to play this game during its time it was alive, as it was only released in Japan. And also, back in 2017, I didn't really have a powerful smartphone. The game retains its original combat design that the original God Eater games had. It's an action-based system, and it's focused on story. Story missions were played the same way other God Eater games had them, where you would queue up in a lobby of people, get them together, and then start the mission. However, the multiplayer functionality was still more seamless than the current-day God Eater games. A little unfortunate, and hopefully, in the future, these will be implemented in normal God Eater games as well. It really is a shame that I can't explain it better. It is quite difficult to find actual gameplay and actual people covering the game, as it is a relatively limited release. God Eater Online was released in February of 2017, and it was shut down only about a year and a half later in September of 2018. The game never made it overseas, and that just means that those of us who live outside of Japan really never got a chance to play it. From what I could cobble together, the story itself takes place in a Himalayan branch of Fenrir. The game features an all-new cast of characters and doesn't really touch on the more well-known characters like the first unit from God Eater 1 or Blood from God Eater 2. This game takes place in between the time of where 2 and 3 would take place. A very likely lack of revenue and low player counts probably led to the shutdown of this game. It's quite unfortunate, but that's the way things are. Mobile games are hardly a stable game. They run on servers, and that means that if the player count and the revenue is not high enough, those servers can be shut down. That's just the way things are, and we even see it today with games like Dragalia Lost. The second game is God Eater Resonant Ops. This game was developed by K-Lab, who you may also know as the developers of another recently deceased mobile game, Tales of Crestoria. Resonant Ops saw a departure from God Eater's regular formula. Instead of utilizing action combat, the game used turn-based combat, which would make it easier and less resource-intensive for older phones to run. Instead of focusing on a cast of brand new characters, it combines both old and new characters. Resonant Ops takes place in the Far East branch, much like God Eater 1 and 2. This time, you see the first unit being led by Erina. I also believe Alyssa was the branch director, in place of Sakaki. The gacha system was a little more important this time, as you would roll characters to use in battle. These characters were often ones that you would know from previous God Eater games. Soma, Shio, Alyssa, Lindo, Julius, Nana, Shiel, and even the God Eater 3 cast got a time to shine in it as well. This doesn't mean they were canonical to the story. If you know about gacha games, often they include characters who are not canonical to the story, but would help make some revenue off of them. If you wanted to look at it one way, you could say it's scummy. If you wanted to look at it another, it's just fan service. Unfortunately, God Eater remains quite an unpopular franchise. Of course, that's not to say that it doesn't sell. However, looking at things like search trends, you can see that God Eater is probably the least talked about franchise among the 4 major Bandai Namco anime original franchises. The closure of God Eater Resonant Ops happened 2.5 years after its initial release in September of 2020. The game originally came out in April of 2018, right around the time God Eater Online was seemingly going to be shut down. It's kind of a shame to see this game go. I mean, it was probably a little bit more successful in God Eater Online, but it's still a shame that we don't get to see the remainder of the story, unlike K-Lab's other game, Crestoria, which will be getting a manga adaptation. Of course, I'm not trying to start any flame wars. I don't blame Tales of Crestoria for anything. It's just a matter of the fact that Coincidentally, Tales of Crestoria came right after the shutdown of God Eater Resonant Ops, and it's a little sad to see it go. All of this aside, I think there's actually quite a positive to take away from this. I think both of these games serve a lesson to both Bandai Namco and to us. We know now that there is possibility for God Eater to have better multiplayer functionality. We also know the possibility of seeing older characters again, and a turn-based combat game that could work as a spin-off. Of course, this is me speaking dreamily. I don't truly believe that any of these things will actually happen in the future. I just hope that maybe God Eater can get a little bit more love than it does now. I don't expect we'll ever see a continuation right off from where these stories left off, or just at least from their beginning for us who live outside of Japan, the international audience. However, I do hope that God Eater will continue as a franchise. And by the way, we still have the God Eater 3 review, which will be coming eventually. It's going to take me a little while longer to finish the game, and I've got some other projects planned out for this channel. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching this. Thank you for watching. And if you played either of these mobile games, let me know what they were like in the comments below. Or tell me your thoughts. Are you sad that maybe you'll never get to experience the remainder of this storyline? Or maybe you're okay with it. You're not a mobile game person. I know I'm not totally a mobile game person either. I just wish I had a chance to play these games in a way that I could fully understand without having to hold Google Translate up to my phone. That'd be a little hard. You have two phones on top of each other. But I digress. Thank you for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see you guys next week.